everybody, it's Ben, and welcome in to the studio. Today, we're going to be going over the major categories at the 59th Annual CMA Awards, which are happening Wednesday, November 19th at 8 p.m. on ABC. We used to do this, or I should say, we started doing this earlier this year with the ACM Awards, and I kind of went through some of the big categories, listed off who's nominated. I shared who I thought was going to win and who I thought should win. And I'm excited to do that now with country music's biggest night with the CMA Awards. So I've taken all of the major categories and broken them down, and let's go over it. All right, let's start off now with Entertainer of the Year, of course, the biggest category of the night. This is the #1 award, and this year nominated is Luke Combs, Morgan Wallen, Cody Johnson, Lainey Wilson, and Chris Stapleton. Now, starting with Luke Combs, he didn't do a major tour in 2025. He did play a bunch of festivals, including here in Boston, Boston Calling. Morgan Wallen, on the other hand, did have a very big tour, the I'm the Problem tour, fresh off of the release of that huge album, which stopped in Gillette Stadium for a couple of nights. Cody Johnson, no big tour for him that came through Boston this year. Lainey Wilson did come. She was here actually last month on Columbus Day weekend at the Xfinity Center. And Chris Stapleton was here, but not on his own headlining tour. He was opening up for George Strait at Gillette back in June. So with these nominees here, obviously the category is so heavily weighted on live music, and I have to give it to Morgan Wallen. His concert was hands down the best of the year, the best, vibe that was happening, the best performance, just the best visual feeling too. I mean, sure, Lainey Wilson definitely had a visually appealing concert, and of course, musically appealing concert, definitely. You could say that about Chris Stapleton too, but he wasn't here on a headlining thing. So I have to give it to Morgan, and I think it's his year too. I think that he's going to end up winning a lot of the awards that he is nominated for this year. I just think you can't deny it anymore. You know what I mean? So Morgan Wallen for Entertainer of the Year. Let's continue on. Ready? New Artist of the Year. And this is one of my favorite ones because it really shines a spotlight on who's going to be filling up some of the other categories in years to come. So Shabuzi's got it this year. Steven Wilson Jr. got a nomination. Tucker Wetmore, Ella Langley, and Zach Top. I think nobody on this list has done more for their own new careers this year than Ella Langley. I think it's close, but I think Ella Langley really took 2025 and catapulted herself to the next level of stardom. I feel like she's on the precipice of stardom, if you will, of major stardom, and especially with her new one, Choose in Texas, which is just becoming a huge hit. I know it's a late contender-ish here for her campaign for New Artist of the Year, but besides that, she had her first ever #1 towards the end of last year, with another one sprinkled in there around May. So I think it's going to be Ella Langley for sure. My pick for New Artist of the Year. Moving on now to Song of the Year, and I was kind of blown away by this. I just don't think the Song of the Year is in this category. You know what I mean? I feel like there's been a few other songs that just have been massive in 2025 that did not make it in here. So starting it off with Blake Shelton's Texas, Zach Top, I Never Lie, Megan Maroney, Am I Okay? Ella Langley and Riley Green, You Look Like You Love Me, and Lainey Wilson, 4x4 by You. So Song of the Year is about the song itself, like the best written song, the best performing song, but mostly writing. And I think it's tough. It really is tough. I think that Am I Okay was probably the best written song of the year. So I think Megan Maroney is going to take that one. All right, let's move on. Female Artists of the Year. What a jammed category. Megan Maroney, Kelsey Ballerini, Ella Langley, Lainey Wilson, and Miranda Lambert. Now, I was lucky enough to see all but one of these artists perform this year, everyone except for Ella Langley, which she was here. I was away. I regret it. Okay. But it's not just that live performance. It's other things they've done throughout the year. The music they've released especially has probably the #1 qualifier for categories like this. It's tough. I think it's going to be Ella Langley's year. Remember a few years ago, she was most nominated, and same with Lainey Wilson. I don't think Miranda's got it this year, but also you go to a Megan Maroney show, and it's the most dedicated audience I've seen in a venue of the size that she has been playing recently. This is so tough. I think Megan Maroney's going to win Female Artist of the Year. I do think so. When I went to her show back in August, like I said, just some of the most dedicated fans, and I think they'll come out for her. And I think that this is just the next step of her becoming a huge mainstay in country music. So I think Megan Maroney's our Female Artist of the Year. Let's move on. Male Artist of the Year. Luke Combs, Morgan Wallen, Cody Johnson, Zach Top, and Chris Stapleton. I don't think anybody had as big a year as Morgan Wallen did. With the new album, the huge sold-out tour across the country, I don't think it's close. Will he get it is the other question. I mean, I think, like I said earlier, I think it's just become too big to deny. I think that he's gonna sweep, including Male Artist of the Year. For sure. Morgan Wallen. All right, Album of the Year. Zach Top's Cold Beer and Country Music, Post Malone's F1 Trillion, Morgan Wallen's I'm the Problem, Megan Maroney, Am I Okay, and Lainey Wilson's Whirlwind. A lot of great records here. I mean, they all were very outstanding records. I really love Lainey Wilson's. I really loved Megan Maroney's. Post Malone, I loved that too. I loved all of them, but I think Morgan Wallen's just is undoubtedly the biggest country record of 2025. There's not much more to say that I already have. I just think that it's so big to deny. I don't think you have a choice. Morgan Wallen, I'm the Problem. All right, Single of the Year. We have Ain't No Love in Oklahoma from Luke Combs, Megan Maroney, Am I Okay? Ella and Riley, You Look Like You Love Me, Zach Top, I Never Lie, and Lainey, 4x4 by You. So Single of the Year is different than Song of the Year. This is like more of a how it performed. You know what I mean? So I'm going like TikTok based here. There's 2 songs on that list that just kind of became so big that they can thank a lot of that to TikTok. I think a big reason of why You Look Like You Love Me was a number 1 was because of that whole craze, the whole sound becoming so popular on TikTok. You could say the same thing about Zach Top and I Never Lie. It had that same moment too. But I think the bigger song that brought more people into country music, I think it's You Look Like You Love Me. I definitely think that is the Single of the Year. All right, Vocal Group of the Year. This is a good one. Lady A, Rascal Flatts, Old Dominion, Red Clay Strays, and Little Big Town. I don't think it's close. I think it's Rascal Flatts, and for one reason. I think it's because of their Unfueled Duets or Refueled Duets album that came out earlier this year, where they teamed up with a bunch of newer country artists to re-record some of their older hits. And I think just because of that, and how they've kind of reintroduced themselves into country music after a little bit of a hiatus, is enough for them to take home Vocal Group of the Year. So that's my pick, Rascal Flatts. All right, let's go on. Musical Event of the Year. This is a good one because it's just like, it's something that everyone was focused on at one given time. So this year is Riley and Ella, Don't Mind If I Do, Post Malone and Blake Shelton, Pour Me a Drink, Brandon Lake and Jelly Roll, Hard Fought Hallelujah, Cody Johnson and Carrie Underwood, I'm Gonna Love You, and Megan Maroney and Kenny Chesney, You Had to Be There. Musical event. Biggest thing that's happened with any of these songs this year was when Jelly Roll performed Hard Fought Hallelujah in the Vatican, in the plaza, with so many people watching. I think it was like 250,000 people viewing or in attendance, something like that. It was a staggering number, and I think because of that, Hard Fought Hallelujah is the musical event of the year. All right, now for Vocal Duo of the Year. I think this is one category where they kind of missed a few different duos, especially Low Cash. I think they are definitely deserving to be in this category. But this year, it's Brooks and Dunn, Dan and Shay, The Warren Treaty, Maddie and Tay, and Brothers Osborne. And it's tough. I mean, Brooks and Dunn was going to be on tour with Jason Aldean in Boston, and back in May. That didn't happen. They had to cancel that show. But for vocal duo of the year, I think Brooks and Dunn. It's tough. I'm going to go Brooks and Dunn for vocal duo of the year. So there you have it. Those are our categories, and I very much appreciate you hanging out with me as we have predicted some of these CMA Award nominations. It's going to be a very interesting night. I think that Morgan Wallen's going to have a huge night. I think Ella Langley's going to have a big night. I think Megan Maroney's going to have a big night. Who do you think?